When are you gonna paint it? Ah, patina. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're still working on the 1000 SP. I feel like I'm never gonna stop saying that. It's the ongoing, ever-going project. But in this episode, we are working on something that I've been talking about and you guys have been reminding me of for quite some time. Ever since we put the body over the pan under its own weight for the first time. And that is resolving the issue of being able to get wheels on and off the back of this car. Because we don't have a wheel well at all in the back, this car was reliant on very narrow, high offset wheels in order to come on and off. Now, the Auto Union 1000 SP from the factory, and many of you guys have heard me say this, was a 3-cylinder, 2-stroke front-wheel drive car from the factory. So being front-wheel drive, the rear just had a beam, just like the early water-cooled Volkswagens and Audis. The Mark 1 Rabbits, the C1 100 Audis had a beam in the back, and this car actually had a transverse leaf stack suspension in the front and rear. The front had a leaf spring stack that went across from wheel to wheel, and the radiator actually sat up on top of it behind the motor, which is where this hood scoop would direct air straight back to the radiator. So that being said, this rear beam had a setup where if you unhooked the lower shock bolt, that beam would just swing down. It ultimately had like a 2-link suspension on it, and it would just swing that beam down super far. And the factory wheels were 4 or 4.5 inch wide. They were 15 by 4, 15 by 4.5, something like that. And even before I separated the body from frame, because this is a frame car from the factory, not a unibody, which is crazy for 1960 Germany, I'd actually put some newer 15-inch radial tires on it because I had 3 of the 4 tires that wouldn't even hold air. They were old tube tires and everything was all rotted away. And even like a 175, 65, 15 or whatever, like a normal size tire, just that little bit of extra sidewall, I could not get the wheel on and off the car with the factory suspension setup. So now that we have this body sitting over a Volkswagen Beetle pan, a swing arm pan, 1959, at stock track width in the rear, and 8-inch wide 15-inch wheels underneath, we can't get those wheels on and off without taking the body off the pan. So basically when I got those tires mounted and I put those wheels on, the body came down and it hasn't been off yet. It has to come off plenty more times until this project's done, but now's the time. I want to figure this out because just taking the wheels and tires off, just knowing that I have to pull the body up to do it is a nuisance. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as just unhooking the lower shock bolt, because we're running the EvaResto bolt-in rear bag kit for a Volkswagen Beetle. They make one for the swing arm rear end, and they make one for the independent rear suspension, later Beetle rear end as well. So we're gonna have to make some modifications. We're gonna have to cut some stuff. So let's get into it. All right, so what I'm gonna do first is I'll just show you guys what I'm working with and what it's like to try to get this wheel off this car without a wheel well and the offset in width that this wheel has. All right, so that's full droop. It's full lift too, so the airbag is as extended as air will allow it to be, or the shock has completely extended. You know, there's something that is causing this to be full droop. If the wheel was narrower with a higher offset, we should be able to take it off the drum and either roll it to us from the top or to us from the bottom and get it out. And unfortunately, with a 15 by 8, that's really difficult to do. Okay, so all the lug bolts are out. And this is what we're dealing with here. Nowhere near close to come off. This way, we're still caught, but you know what? Let me show you what I've just realized that may be the main culprit or a main culprit. This castle nut right here is what holds your whole drum and ultimately wheel onto the car, right? These drums are aftermarket. These drums that I've gotten for this car, for this whole project, have a new PCD. Now that's the bolt pattern of the wheel, and they're a dual PCD. It's got a 5x120, which is what the Corvair has, and it has 5x130 millimeter, which is what these BBSs are, and that's Porsche PCD. And these drums are designed to work with the early swing arm rear ends like this, and the later style Beetle rear ends. Now it says when you buy these drums, if you buy these drums for the swing arm rear end, this nose cone right here that the castle nut butts up against has to be milled down by 5/8 of an inch in order to work properly. And you can see why. You can see how little thread engagement we have inside that castle nut. Now, obviously I haven't been driving this car because it's not done yet, but I did get my castle nuts on and snugged them down for rolling it out of the shop. Get the wheel all the way out. It's still catching on the castle nut. Now, if that's in 5/8 of an inch, how likely is it we're able to get that to drop straight down and wiggle it out a little bit more? The spring plate is bottoming out on the casting right there. You can see where the highlighter notch is just to show like where it needed to be notched. It's actually sitting right on the casting. So we kind of need to notch that to get the spring plate to come down further. And at the same time, unhook the lower shock mount and the lower bag mount. The rear axle nut on 59 Volkswagen Beetle is 36 millimeter. Okay, there we go. This means this drum will slide right off. So let's just go easy. All right, is that drum all the way on? Oh, that helps significantly, but I don't think it's enough. It's not enough. Man. All right, well, I have the body and pan up on blocks. Well, technically just the pan. Just got it sitting on some blocks, and I think I'm just gonna take the body off. After looking at a handful of different options for trying to get the rear wheel off without taking the body off, I think we just have to take the body off. All right, gonna take the air suspension management out of here. This doesn't have to be in here right now, so this will free up some space. We basically have all of the air suspension management contained right here on this piece of MDF. We got the 3P manifold from Airlift. We got the Flow Air tank. We've got the 444 via air compressor, water trap, and the whole harness. Everything's right here. So I basically had my battery mounted right here and had a switch over here set up for my ignition. So everything was right here. So now that we're in the shop, we have access to shop air. I replumbed the shop setup. We have our front bags teed off here and our rear bags teed off here with Schrader valves. So all I have to do is just put shop air to it and raise the car up. For right now, we'll clear this out because I'll definitely need the space. Here we go. All right, don't snag on anything. Oh. Okay. Now that the air suspension management's out of it, you can kind of see my frame setup in here. You can also see how much surface rust is on it. So we have a body mount location here with 2 bolts. We have a body mount location here with 1 bolt, and it's the same on this side. We have 2 in there and 1 there. Again, gotta clean all this up and paint it. Had to drive through the rain on the way to Canada. Those are the rear mounts done. A lot more surface rust in here than I expected. I haven't had this open since we got back. Steering extender, I didn't paint. It was a tough week before we left. Spending a few days in the hospital and my health really kind of taking a dive. And we have 2 more down at the bottom of the Napoleon hat, the front of the pan. These are the last 2. All right, well, all the body mounts are unbolted, and I've got the lift arms set up underneath the body. All right, body going up. Whoa, why did it roll forward like that? What is hanging on? Did the lift arm catch? What's still catching? Is airline getting caught? Man, I just had a rookie move. Totally forgot to disconnect the steering column. I've had this body on and off so many times. Like I said, I forget what's now hard mounted and needs to be unbolted. It's been a long week. All right. Are we good? I think we're good. We're good. Losing a car or a car body on a lift is biggest nightmare. So definitely try to be really careful about jack points, how it's all lifted. All right, as of right now, this is what's required to get the rear wheels off of the car. Hey, I was just talking to my buddy Chris in the UK who owns Lowdown Transporters. He's got a really, really cool splitty bus that is just slammed. And it's a puzzle to get the rear wheels off of that. It requires so much work to get off that thing. He's got to deflate the tires and bars and all sorts of crazy things. I am now entering that chat of multiple piece operation to get wheels off of a car. And it's because of this right here. We don't have a wheel arch. So what I'm gonna do now is we'll take the wheels off and I'll pull the spring plates. Wow, that's so easy. That's so easy. Let me show you guys what's going on here. This whole amazing feat of engineering is EvaResto's bolt-in rear Beetle bag kit. Now, if you guys have owned Volkswagen Beetles, or even further, if you guys have ever bagged a Volkswagen Beetle, you know you have to cut and weld in the back. Just have to do it. There's nowhere to mount an airbag. And Max at EvaResto has come up with this amazing kit where everything bolts in. And it's so cool, and you'll have to go back and watch the installation of all this because I go through every step and talk about it in detail. But it utilizes factory mounting locations down in here to mount off of everything. So you don't have to cut or weld anything. So even the spring plate mounting location on the axle gives you the new lower dropout for your shock, which mounts to the upper bag bracket, which mounts to the cross member, which mounts to your stabilizer link, which mounts to your frame horn, which the front stabilizer link mounts to your torsion tube. It's really, really cool. And now you've got three pieces that mount to your axle, where you've got your spring plate, you've got your lower bag bracket, which also mounts to the lower shock bolt, or dropout, I should say. He makes one for the light Beetles as well. Get to EvaResto. If you're trying to bag your Karmann Ghia or Beetle or some Beetle Panda project like I'm doing, hit them up. Incredible quality. They're in England, but the majority of their clientele is here in America. Shipping's like, I get stuff within the week. But here's what's happening. The spring plate is sitting on that lip. I've already talked to Max about this. I told him, I said, listen, man, one, do you think it's a good idea? Two, I'm so sorry, I'm cutting up your beautifully designed and powder coated spring plates. And it was a yes and a no worries on the cutting part. All right, so we got the spring plates out. I'll probably start with the one I scribed full scribe on the passenger side, and we'll transpose it over here. I did make a mark about a 1/4 inch away from where the casting is, so I know how far out to go. I'll show you guys what the inside of the inner wheel well looks like. So in here, it's a bit of a gap, and it's a decent gap, right? And the lip is hitting this, but it's also hitting down here. You know, you can kind of see like where the lip has been hitting when I've been trying to get the wheel and tire off. We could relief cut this maybe and try to hammer it in. I do want to make wheel tubs at some point, and I don't know what they're going to look like and where they'll mount to. So I've been hesitant to cut a lot of this away because I've left this lip deliberately all the way over to build off of. But you can see how this aggressively bends in, right? So don't have too much room when it comes down to here because of how far in this bends. Also, can't believe the light reflects in this thing now. How crazy is that? This thing was a chalkboard before. Look at the light. Man. All right, we've got 2 customized spring plates notched in the same places. Ay, ay, ay. All right. It's a lot of work to just test fit some stuff, but it will be nice to be able to take the wheels off without taking the body off. This is definitely the wheel fitment enthusiast part of me that's trying to make this happen. All right, so I took advantage of having the body separated from the pan, and the floor extensions you saw get put in the last episode. I decided to weld up underneath and paint it. So just kind of laid a series of stitch welds up underneath to the frame rail, all the way down, just so it's stitch welded on the top side, and as you can see by the top side here, stitch welded it underneath as well. All right, we are 1 car again, and we're in the air. You know, everything's in, everything's connected. We've got our notch in the spring plate, and we've got some room to go. That'll allow us to get down further than we were. I've seen a few 1000 SPs with little wheel arches right here. Even my friend Rob's up in New York has a little wheel arch, and I can't help but wonder if that was done aftermarket in order to get wheels off the car, especially if not only you're running an aftermarket wheel that may be wider or a lower offset than the factory wheel, but even if you're just running a wider tire, because the tires I ran on the factory wheels on the other 1000 SP, I could barely get on and off. Let's take this thing apart and hopefully we can get this thing off. Okay, so I haven't had an excuse to use my homemade alignment stands or just car stands since I built them. And this will help with what we're doing now because I'll be able to drop the car down enough to put some preload on a suspension to get the lower shock and lower bag bracket unbolted. And then I can raise the car up with the lift from there and see what we have for droop. All right, that's the rear shock done. I'll look at unbolting the lower bolts from the bag itself, which might be a pain to get lined back up, especially if you're beside the road. But again, if it's doable, that's all we're looking for. Yeah, putting preload on the car on these stands was great because I can just pull this stuff right out. Well, that's already more droop than we had before, noticeably. We're definitely touching the inner fender. But I mean, we can pull on it. If we can pull on it enough, please, please. The castle nut's sticking out 5/8 of an inch more than it will when it's done. I'm itching for a lathe and a Bridgeport. I'm just itching for one. So many more things we could do. All right, castle nut's coming off. Drum might try to slide right off too, though. Behave yourself. Oh, guys, we are so close. We are so close. Oh my gosh, we're so close to getting this thing out. I can taste it. You're right there. I know I'm kind of scratching the lip up a little bit, but these things are good. They're all right. I know there's so many different ways I could go about it, but I really don't want to cut that inner wheel well. We're tender. They've separated already. If anything, I should reinforce it and not keep cutting it out. All it's got to do is drop down below that. We're seriously there. Oh boy, come on, come on. No way. Wow, wowee. I don't know if that's a win. Yeah, because how on earth are we going to get it back on? We got it off. There's probably no way it's going back on. I want to figure out what's keeping it from more droop, because that's definitely the factor. The lower shock bolt and the bag bolts off the lower bracket are all unhooked, and the axle tube is actually sitting on the frame horn. So this is as far down as it'll go. And what I did was I taped up my lip so we didn't scratch this thing up anymore, and figured I'd try to mount it now, because if it won't go on now, we've got to reevaluate everything, right? This is as far down as this will be able to go. And I was able to get it on pretty easily. Now, I didn't film it, but the lip of the wheel didn't even touch. I had to kind of squeeze the tire through a little bit, but it got on no problem, good to go. I did what maybe a few of you guys thought I should do from the get-go. And this is something I thought about doing from the get-go and decided not to, just because I thought maybe just a slight notch in the spring plate, which is removable from the car altogether, was the best way to do it. But what I've done is I've taken the whole stop altogether, and I've gone up to where the spring plate cap goes on, because here's what's happening. We want as much droop as possible until the axle tube is actually sitting on the frame horn. So this stop is literally useless now. I'm going to take this stop as well. You can see how there's a big shelf right here that the spring plate sits on. This long road has kind of had to happen because I didn't want to cut or remove anything I didn't think I'd have to remove. Just trying to come up with the formula for all this. All right, boys, cross your fingers. Oh yeah, yes. That feels way better than it should. Getting a wheel on your car. All right, so now I'll get a jack under here and get the axle jacked up a little bit, and we'll reconnect the bag bracket and the shock, and that should be it. Goodness gracious, we did it. We got a wheel on the car without taking the body off. This is a huge win, but we got to make sure we can do it on the other side too. Okay, so I was able to get the spring plate out with the wheel on. Super annoying, but since I don't want to really grind this wheel out before I had the spring plate out. So there's no spring plate in, lower shock's unhooked, and the bag bolts are out. So this should drop down as far as we need it to. Now, this is closer than the other side. We'll see if we can get this thing off with full droop as well. And then we'll cut the casting stop off of the pan. Okay, okay. All right, lip is free. Oh, I think we got this, guys. Oh, don't jinx it yet. Oh yeah, we got this, we got it. Come on. Oh my gosh, here comes the drum. No, 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 no. Oh no. Oh no. I'm holding the drum on with my chest. It's a BBS sandwich. Please stay on. Oh, come on, there we go. Oh, we got it off. That is huge. We'll keep a roll of painter's tape in the car at all times in case a wheel has to come off. Let's cut that casting stop off, put the spring plate back in, and we'll see if we can do this in reverse. All right, so we got the casting cut away. Stop is gone. Left the casting where the cap mounts and just went right to that, rounded it off. So now let's put the spring plate back in, and we'll hook the spring plate up, but we'll leave the bag and the lower shock mount unhooked. And we'll see if we can get the wheel on. Man, oh man, this one is a little tougher. Come on, please, go on there. Man alive. I think we might have to reevaluate the driver's side of this car. It's just not working out. Unbelievable. We did it! Can you imagine having to do that on the side of the road? Oh. When are you gonna paint it? Ah, patina. Oh, man. What was that all about? What on earth just happened? I'll tell you what, this whole go as low as you can with a hot rod thing sure is silly. All right, guys. We got them on and we got them off. Or we got them off and we got them back on. What a task. Yeah, so I consider this a win. I'm gonna work on being able to get these on and off much easier in the future. But my goal for basically yesterday, that turned into yesterday and today, has been achieved. We've gotten them off and we've gotten them back on again with the body on. All right, guys, this has been a long series of filming this episode. It may not seem like it once it's all edited, but there's so many other things I need to be doing on this car to continue progressing on it. We have lots more tube work to do, so much sheet metal work to do. We have yet to drive it, but all the while, I knew that this body still had to come off to get those rear wheels off. But as I mentioned, I'm calling this a win. We can get them on and off. It's a fight, but it's doable. That's all. So for right now, our problem is solved. I still can't get over how wild this car looks laid out on the concrete floor. What a cool car. We're gonna be getting on this thing again here soon, just so everyone knows. Got some Corvair content coming. Maybe even with that one. We've also got this content coming. If you've been on the channel, you know this is my girlfriend's car. But we got content with both those cars coming soon. Gonna get my chop top Corvair back on the road. This thing's been sitting for like 6 months. And work will continue on this. Also, I'm gonna take this opportunity to say that the E23, the 7 Series with the dogleg gearbox in it, is for sale. I've posted it on Instagram. I know most of you guys watching this follow me on Instagram, so you already know. Few people interested, no one's bit yet. So the E23 is available. I'm asking $10,000 for it. It's a California car, no rust. Go back on the channel and watch all the episodes of putting that car together. We put the head off of my Euro 635 CSI on that car, as well as the 265 dogleg close ratio gearbox in it. Brand new ground control coilovers, $10,000 worth of work. Sutton's got the invoices at the shop. You saw us drive it cross country. It survived the Overcrest Rally. I got a bus and a motorhome. This thing, more projects. I've got other irons in the fire I've got to put some money towards, so the E23 is for sale. Come to Chattanooga, get in it, drive it home. With that, I'm leaving you guys off. That's it for this episode. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. It helps the channel grow in a massive way. We've almost doubled the size of the channel in the last 6-7 months. A huge milestone for me. I mean, you guys see the stuff I'm doing here. It's nothing viral, and I'm just doing what I love. So I'm just super excited that the channel's growing. I'm excited that you guys are here. I'm done talking your ears off. Thank you so much for watching and for all the support. We're gonna see you guys in the next episode.